systems go. Clear for liftoff.
What is up, everybody? We are back for a Wednesday edition of the NBA show. Here, as always, joined by my guy Matt, coming off of a historic night in the association. Obviously, if you're unfamiliar with what happened, Bam Adebayo broke Kobe's record, 83 points last night. Give me your thoughts on the performance from Bam last night.
I mean, I give him his flowers. It's incredibly hard to do no matter what. But, man, I did not like the way the fourth quarter played out there. Like Miami fouling to get extra possessions. I mean, what are we doing here? That's not the way to do it, in my opinion. Like, again, really impressive to do it no matter what, but not like that. At least that's my opinion. And, again, I'm not trying to take away from him. I'll reiterate, incredible performance, but fouling in the fourth quarter up 20 is nuts.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, it's cool to see because I don't know if we'll ever see a performance like that again in our lifetime. It's really, I mean, maybe we will. Maybe Wemby or some of these young guys coming up in a few years, if the NBA changes, they'll get close to it. But 83 points is pretty incredible. But yeah, I do agree that it was pretty gross to see what was going on at the end of the game. But regardless, I don't know if I keep hearing people, like these media people, saying like, well, we won't remember what happened at the end of the game. I feel like we will. I mean, you look at the box score, he had over 40 free throw attempts, and like the entire second half was just him shooting free throws. I wasn't even watching the game. I was just watching the play-by-play, and literally every time I looked at it, it was shooting foul, Bam Adebayo at the free throw line.
Yeah, like the end of the game was all them fouling Atlanta, and then Bam either getting fouled or just shooting like every single possession. And I get it. The thing that's most impressive to me is that it was Bam. Like, of all guys to score 80-plus points in an NBA game, he'd be way down the list. He's just not that guy. But you got a combination of three was falling early, like tanking Washington. That's why I think we could see someone potentially threaten, I don't know about 100, like threaten Wilt, but threaten like in the 80s again. It's just because with these teams basically trying to lose, throwing out non-NBA players, there just might be more opportunities for guys to go nuts like this. Again, though, aberration. I'm not calling for it. We likely won't see anything like this again for years, if ever. So appreciate it for what it's worth.
Yeah, absolutely. But won't spend too much time on that. Got 6 games to talk through in the NBA DFS streets tonight. Good prize pool as always. But I'll say what's up to some people before we get started. Got a guy Jose in here. Yeah, Bam had a huge night, but nobody's talking about what Campaign did. I think he shot 8 for 8 from 3-point line or something like that. Just a huge game from him. What's up, Casey? Marquise here. Andrew Martinez, Gangrene, Jake Swells, Philly Phantom. What's going on? All right, if you want to dive into it, or do you want to give me your quick little synopsis of the slate, what you're seeing from a top-down view, and then if not, we can just jump right into it.
Yeah, so things just changed a little bit with Sacramento. You talked about it right before we went on that like they're coming out with stuff. They came out with some stuff, so I think that changes the slate a little bit. As of now, like heading into that, not a slate with like a ton of great value. Also, not a slate with a lot of spend-up options because Jokic is the only guy priced above 10K. So kind of a weird slate in that regard. Also different in that, again, the slate starts a half hour later and goes until, I think, 10:30 Eastern. So different slate than we've seen usual recently, and I'm excited to break it down. Yeah.
Man, I was just looking at who's available for the Kings tonight. It's looking like an 8-man rotation. So that's we'll have to spend a little bit of time on that one, but that could definitely, I mean, it's going to open up a lot of value. And I think that I have a pretty clear idea of what I want to do on tonight's slate, but that definitely threw a wrench into things. But yeah, we'll go through it game by game as we always do. First game on the slate, we have your Cleveland Cavaliers heading into Orlando. just Jared Allen out for the Cavs right now, aside from all the guys that have been missing. But we did just get word not too long ago that Max Strus sounds like he's going to be making his return as early as Sunday. So that'd be huge for them. Definitely need to get healthy, need to get Jared Allen back. But I think that's going to be massive for them come playoff time, because we know what type of spark that he provides really on both ends of the court. But I think that the shooting that he provides is going to be huge when you could trot out him and Sam Merrill, maybe stagger them away from each other, just really have an elite shooter on the court at all times. So thoughts there, and then break down this game for me.
Yeah, we've talked about Strus before. I just trust him to bring it every single night. And I trust him to be like the kind of guy you can rely on both offensively and defensively in playoff type settings. Not that he's amazing or elite in either of those. And it's not like he's going to be on the court a ton, especially when he first returns. But he brings a lot of that dog that the Cavs seemingly had been missing before the Harden trade. Now, I do like Keon Ellis and Schroeder, Harden himself. So I think they've changed their identity a little bit, but I like Strus in that role a lot. So excited for him to come back. From a DFS perspective for tonight, I kind of like this game from a tournament perspective. I think it's going to be close. Orlando is playing good ball right now, coming off a couple of big blowouts. I like the way Wade Banchero looks right now. 9,400. Hasn't shown like massive upside yet, but again, has been really good. And a couple of their games recently have been big blowouts, or their past 2 games have been big blowouts. So competitive national TV game. I never mentioned this to you because it was like the day after we did a show, but ESPN came out with an article a couple of weeks ago about like their 2028 Olympians, like their projected roster. They completely snub Paolo there, and he's like that type that knows that, and he's been on a roll since then, and I think that's been motivation for him because coming into this year, he would easily have been on that list. He's not anymore, and no one's really arguing it. We know he's got upside. I think this game is close. If it is close, I think Paolo has a big role in that. I like him here. He's probably my favorite overall piece from this game. From the Cleveland side, Harden and Mitchell. Still hard to really decipher and know what to do when they're both in because we haven't seen it a ton. Harden still dealing with the thumb injury. Mitchell coming off the groin injury. It seems like at the same price with Mitchell, if either of them, but the field is doing that too. So I think you can make a strong case for Harden in tournaments. I don't like this game in the sense that like I think you got to play these players. There's no like locks from this game, but I think the spend up options are intriguing on a slate without a ton of spend up options in a game I think is really competitive. So I don't think you have to play anything from this game. And if you told me you were playing nothing in one lineup in this game, I would get it. And if I were playing one lineup tonight, I'm not sure I would get to anything from this game. I could also make a case for like overstacking it. Mobley from the Cleveland side, Paolo talked about from the Orlando side, Jalen Suggs. I think I like this game more than the field, and I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to play it. How do you see it?
Yeah, I think that you could definitely make a case for it. I like this game in the sense that we know both teams are going to be running a pretty tight rotation, and we know where the fantasy points are coming from. I don't really think that there's anybody in the starting lineup for Cleveland that's really at risk of taking away usage and fantasy points from James Harden and Donovan Mitchell, and to a lesser degree, Evan Mobley. And then for Cleveland, they've just been running for Orlando, they've been running such a tight rotation lately. With Anthony Black and Franz Wagner out, they really don't trust much on their bench. So we're seeing pretty heavy minutes from Paulo, Suggs at times, Bane, even like Tristan Da Silva and Wendell Carter Jr. playing above 30 minutes a night most nights. So I definitely think that you can make the case for a few of these guys, maybe a little back and forth action on the studs. But I agree with you. I think that it's really just Donovan and Harden for me. I'm slightly preferring Donovan here. I think that he's done really good against Jalen Suggs in their head-to-head matchups. Been kind of waiting for him to match up against the Magic again because I think it's a good spot for him. Has been losing a bit of usage to James Harden lately, but I would not expect that moving forward. We know how important Donovan is to the offense for Cleveland. So I'm feeling a pretty solid game from Donovan Mitchell tonight. He's in the last 2 games against Jalen Suggs. He's went for 58.5 and 59 DK points. And then he's topped 55 DK points in 5 of their 9 head-to-head matchups over the last 4 to 5 seasons. A little bit less high on Harden. I think that you could make the case for him because the Magic have a pretty bad pick and roll defense. We know that's kind of James Harden, his music, but I just slightly prefer Donovan Mitchell here. Not really into Mobley. He's done pretty poor against the Magic in his career. And then I agree with you on Paulo. He's kind of had the better between him and Evan Mobley in the head-to-head matchup. He's averaging 25.5 points per 75. Fantasy output has not been great, but he's shooting the ball really well right now. Maybe not from beyond the arc, but efficiency-wise, he's been pretty good inside the three-point line. And then Desmond Bane's been playing great over the last 10 games, averaging 5 more points per game on his season averages, and also adding a little bit more potential assists. 70% true shooting, really good for somebody that is taking threes. So I do think that Bane's pretty good here. I think that's probably it. I don't know if I really want to mess with the value plays now that we just got all that King stuff, but definitely think that you can make the case for like 1 to 2 guys or 1 to 3 guys in this game for sure.
What about Suggs himself?
I think he's fine, but I kind of prefer Garland in that same range, and probably now I think you probably need Killian Hayes.
Yeah.
So I just think that the point guard just got a lot better.
Yeah, I agree with both those. I also like Garland. I do think it's close with him and Suggs. But your other point is that point guard spot tonight is going to be at a premium. So, yeah, we see this game pretty much eye to eye. But after hearing you, playing 3 lineups tonight, I haven't built them, obviously, but I could easily see myself with at least one of them playing like a Mitchell, Paolo, Bane stack or Mitchell, Paolo, Suggs, one of, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that idea for sure. If I was playing probably 3 to 5, I'd probably do something like that as well. All right, let's jump into the next game. Toronto Raptors heading to New Orleans. Toronto is off of a back-to-back blowout loss against the Rockets, but should be able to hang around here since they're not really facing a true contender. Pelicans have actually been improving defensively since DeJounte Murray's return. They're running a smaller lineup out there with Herbert Jones as their center, and still not great defensively, but they're 19th, whereas they were bottom 5 basically the entire season. Toronto's really not been that much better. They're 18th, so right behind the Pelicans defensive rating wise. Did have some appeal in this game, but I think it got a little bit worse now that we got the Kings value, just because I think that you're going to be kind of forced to play some more spend-ups, and I just don't really think that these guys rate out that great. But definitely think that there is a little bit of appeal in this one. But yeah, I'll kick it off to you first if you want to touch on this game.
Yeah, so I think there's definitely appeal from like a 30,000-foot view, but not sure there's much like that I'm personally going to be like just locking in. I think the 2 guys that come to mind kind of in that mid price point range that I think is going to be really popular on this slate is RJ Barrett from the Toronto side and DeJounte Murray from the New Orleans side. I've been on Murray a bunch. It's tough now though, like just talking about him first, because we just talked about the point guard position. Like there are other good point guards on this slate. I also like Garland a lot. Killian Hayes now is likely to become a priority. Jalen Suggs, like there's just other really good Jalen Brunson. There's other really good guard plays on this slate. So I'm interested to hear like how much of a priority Murray might be for you, or if I'm sure that has to have come down just with the Sacramento news. How could it not? So yeah, he was the guy coming into this show that would have been the priority for me from New Orleans. Zion's price tag looks tasty at 7,500, but just rarely shows upside even at that tag. So like in this spot, not really interested in him. Like at that price tag, he always has upside. We've seen it a ton in the past, but in this spot, he hasn't shown it in a while. I'm not putting my money on it here. Like New Orleans is pretty healthy. One guy that I was looking at for value was Yves Missi, just because there isn't a lot of value on the slate. I don't think I'm really that interested there. I don't know how much from this game I'm gonna get. The Toronto side obviously looks appealing. Is Pirtle in now?
I think he's still questionable, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought so too. Okay, so presuming he doesn't play again, then I think we just lock in Sandro again. Much better spot here against New Orleans. A little bit of a cheaper tag. Like he should smash in this spot. Higher on him tonight than I was last night, and I played him a bunch last night because you got to play him when he starts. But this is the spot he could really smash in. So Hurdle's out. I think you lock in Sandro, and I think that all the Toronto guys are in play because they're in a really good spot. But no one besides Barrett like stands out to me from like a projection points per dollar standpoint. How do you see it?
Yeah, exact same breakdown for me. I think Barrett's the only guy I'm really considering. I wouldn't even want to say priority, but just he's the best option on Toronto right now. And I do agree with you that if Jakob Poeltl is out, kind of also need TJD out because he's questionable. Trace Jackson Davis, he's been out for a while, so they would really be down all three of their center plays. So Sandro would definitely come and play. He got the minutes last night, 30 minutes, just wasn't great from a permanent standpoint. I think I'd be okay going back to Scotty Barnes, but again, I just don't view these guys as guys I need to really be getting to because there's four guys that really demand a lot of usage between Scotty Barnes, Ingram, Barrett, and Quickly. So it's just getting increasingly tougher and tougher to get ceiling games from these guys. Never really been that big of a believer in Brandon Ingram as a ceiling play, and now he's going to be guarded by Herb Jones, also shooting the ball really bad right now. I think the thumb injury is really affecting him. So off of him, probably would just be Barnes, Barrett, and Poeltl or Sandro.
People talk about the revenge spot with Ingram going back or just in general. I like the other side of it. Like, there's no way these guys on New Orleans are going to come in, let Brandon Ingram come in and just dominate them. So I'm off Ingram here. I like Barrett a lot. You know, I like the Barrett v. Zion 1-to-1. Obviously, those guys played together in college, went top 3 in the draft. I just don't love Zion's upside. This game, again, I think it looks better from a 30,000-foot view than it does like when you really start to pick it apart.
I could honestly see the Pelicans winning this game. I know it's not really like a crazy big spread or anything, but I think that they could win this game. I just do not believe the Toronto Raptors are very good.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I might think they're better than you do, but they're not a team that like scares me in the East and on the road against New Orleans. Like I think as far as talent goes, you can make the argument New Orleans has more talent than Toronto. I think it's similar either way, though.
Yeah, I just think that DeJounte Murray just adds a layer to their offense that they've really been missing with, they'd never really had like a true point guard, and I've always been really high. I've literally he's one of my guys, but
yeah, I love him too. I love the cut of his jib. Like not only does he add something to their offense, he just adds something to their, we talked about it with Strus. He's even more of that dog. Like I think he adds a culture setter that they needed.
Yeah, I mean, came from San Antonio. It's hard to not believe that. But yeah, I think that DeJounte definitely a couple hairs down the list of priorities at point guard now. I definitely have Garland ahead of him. Between him and Suggs, I think it's pretty close. It's just a big price tag, and he's really he's not playing full minutes yet. He did get up to 30 a couple of games ago, but I would imagine that he's probably still capped in that 30-minute range. So not really running to play him at this type of ownership. I would imagine it comes down a bit as we get updates from the King stuff. But yeah, I think it's just like a max 2 of the Pelicans, probably a max 2 of both sides of this game. I'd be fine if I just have one. I think that all of Zion, Murphy, DeJounte, and Sadiq Bey are in play here. I think Bey is kind of interesting because he has a small forward power forward eligibility, and I think with the new starting lineup where they're running things a lot smaller, kind of helps his rebounding rates a little bit. So I think that he's fine, but I think DeJounte is the clear number 1 option, and then RJ Barrett on the other side of that game. Saw some questions in chat real quick. I think it's going to be Suggs on Mitchell. I think Bane will be on Harden. You have any leans there?
No, I think that's spot on. Not really worried about it either way. As you said, Mitchell has kind of cooked when guarded by Suggs, so not concerned about any defensive matchups there.
Yep. And I give a shout out to our guy, name no one cares about. We care about your name, but appreciate the kind words. Yeah, it was nice to get one thing right there. The Spurs definitely treated that game like a playoff game. Got a massive game from Derek White, which was nice to get at pretty low ownership. But I mean, if you didn't play Bam, you're not winning anything.
He was so high owned too. Like Bam was it was crazy. Like just last night how it worked out with Bam. Like it was beyond, if you didn't have Bam, you obviously weren't even touching any cash line. But even with Bam, you needed everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I think like over 400 won tournaments last night, so it's just crazy night in the streets. But yeah, I don't know that it's seeing somebody like knowing that Bam was gonna be 90% and some of the high stakes stuff like feels still like an okay spot to pivot
Yeah,
regardless.
man,
Of
there was other good centers, especially with Sandro coming out too.
yeah, like I think if Bam had even like a slightly above average night, he probably doesn't hit the optimal because Miles Turner went off, Wemby went off. So there's definitely ways that you could have gone around it.
Even if Bam just has the game he had in Washington like a month ago, where he was good, but like they rolled. I mean, that was just ridiculous last night. Like that was insane. You just don't see that.
Yeah. All right, but we won't spend too much time on that. Let's get into this next game. New York
I'm
Knicks.
shocked actually. Just real quick, Jake Swales. He said my main line said all fire emojis with no Bam and barely min cashed. I'm surprised there were any lineups without Bam that min cashed. Honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I had to go pretty far down my 150 to even see lineups that were close to the cash line without Bam.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's all good. We'll jump into next game, New York Knicks at my Utah Jazz. Knicks coming off of a 2-loss skid in the West Coast road trip, but we get a good spot to bounce back here. No Josh Hart tonight for the Knicks, but otherwise fully healthy. Sounds like Landry Shamet should slide into the starting lineup here in an elite matchup for how he likes to get his scoring going. And then Utah, questionable tag on Keontae George, and then Blake Hinson down in the G League. John Conchar is out tonight. Ace Bailey and Isaiah Collier will be back for tonight's game. But, I mean, it's obviously a big Q tag for the Jazz because they'd be very, very thin in terms of guys that can actually run the offense. So we could get a really big game from Isaiah Collier, at least from a usage standpoint. But, yeah, obviously a lot to like on the Knicks here. I feel like this is a spot where at least one of these guys is going to be heard from. I would not be surprised if two of them are. In terms of the spend ups, I'm going to continue to lean Cat here. I just think that the overall upside is much better, and we're starting to actually see that for him. Either way, whoever's defending him, I think he's going to get a very, very attackable defender. There's a chance that they put EJ Harkless on him because we saw the Jazz do that with Jokic earlier this season. But if they do go that route, he's just going to have a massive size advantage over him. And then if it's Kyle Filipowski, then that's just the best matchup possible to attack. He's the worst center defender probably in the entire league. So I think Cat, coming off of a couple of really big games, getting a little bit more momentum his way, is a really, really strong spend-up option tonight. I'd be fine with Brunson as well. Just kind of gotten cold shooting the ball as of late, under 50% true shooting over his last 5. But the good news is that his potential assists are way up, and a game or a matchup against the Jazz where he should have little to no resistance scoring the ball. Wouldn't be surprised if he puts together a full game here. Even in limited minutes, I could see him going off in like 30 to 32 minutes where he has like 12 to 13 assists, maybe like 25 to 30 real points. And I think we have to have interest in all of OG, McHale, and Landry Shamet. The Jazz have been bleeding three-pointers all season long. They're giving up a ton of corner threes, especially as of late, which is a good spot for OG Anunoby. He's one of the better corner three-point shooters in the NBA. So I like OG here to put up a pretty solid stat line, maybe adding some steals and blocks there against a very young Utah team that is generally really bad at taking care of the ball. But yeah, what are you looking at on the Knicks side of things here?
Yeah, it's basically all Knicks for me in this game, and I think I'm good with basically any and all of them. I don't think there's any one guy on this slate where you're like, I have to play this guy, but there really isn't that guy at all on this slate, except for maybe Killian Hayes. We'll talk about Sacramento. Maybe when we get to the Kings, they'll be that guy. Other than that, there are a bunch of good plays on this slate, and I think a bunch of the Knicks fall into that category. You talked about Landry Shamet. He's never a guy I want to play. But 3,600 on a slate without a ton of value against the Utah team where he should get good run regardless of how this game plays out. And as you mentioned, his game kind of matches up with what Utah gives up. Hard to not have at least interest there at 3,600. Just the nature of how this slate's breaking out. And he's shooting guard eligible, not point guard. So easier to fit in. As far as like the big dogs go, man, I like Brunson more than Cat just because I can't trust Cat. But it's probably easier to play Towns at center than Brunson at point guard tonight, just in terms of how valuable the positions are. It's close. Center is also always valuable with a ton of opportunity cost there. I can't trust Towns. That doesn't mean I won't play him because I don't need to trust him. Like, he's got massive upside in this spot, but wouldn't shock me if he burned people either. The field's going to be on him now after that massive game in this spot. Makes me leery. But again, I get it. And his upside's real here, kind of no matter how this plays out. So I prefer Brunson, but that's a slight lean. So I think both of them are wildly in play. And then the secondary pieces, as you mentioned, Mikal, OG, wildly in play here. Just cogs in the machine type. I'm fine with them in any format. Jose Alvarado, I think could get run here. He should smash when he's on the court. I think you'll want New York exposure. I'm just not exactly sure how I want to get it yet.
Homecoming game too for Jordan Clarkson. Spent the last few years in Utah. Maybe there's a little motivation factor there to put on for the home fans because he actually really enjoyed his time in Utah and Jazz fans loved him. So I wouldn't be surprised if he maybe gets a little bit
More
maybe
run
a
here.
couple rotations in the regular minutes here. But yeah, anything on Utah, or it's just kind of a pass in comparison to all these other spots?
It's just a pass, man. Like, it's just really hard to make the case for anyone here. Like, even last game when they beat Golden State at home, I think Keontae still only played like 24 minutes.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like, what?
Yeah.
I can't do it. Like, in tournaments, I get like playing these guys, and I'm not saying I would cross them out in 150 settings, but I don't think there's anyone right now that I need in like smaller field stuff.
Yeah, the only one I would really keep an eye on would be Harkless if Keontae were to miss, just because he's so cheap, and I think that he's kind of insulated in terms of whether this game blows out or not. He'll probably be on the court.
Yeah, good
All
call.
right. Next game, very exciting game for real life purposes, but I actually have a ton of interest in this one for DFS as well. Houston at Denver. Houston's on a back-to-back coming off of a blowout win, so their guys didn't play full minutes. And then Denver is on the front end of a back-to-back. They have a pretty brutal travel schedule. They play this game 7 p.m. their time and then play another game tomorrow in San Antonio. So I wouldn't be surprised if some guys miss tomorrow, but I think that they'll kind of go full force on this one because this is a pretty big game for the standings in the West. The Nuggets are, I believe, a game and a half behind the Rockets right now, so could really make up a lot of ground here with a win. And we've seen these teams face off. This will be the fourth time that they played this season. You basically get playoff minutes from both sides of this one. So I really have a ton of interest here. I don't really think that much should be talked about in terms of the matchups. I feel like you should just have a lot of interest in both sides here. But I'll say that, Jabari Smith is a guy that kind of stood out to me, and I love what Amen Thompson's been doing lately. It's just going to be tough for me to get there now with the strength of the point guard position. But I really have a lot of interest in the top 6 guys for Houston, from KD down to Tari Eason. I guess in terms of like how I would grade them would be, just want to look at what I had projected. Yeah, Jabari is probably number 1 just because he's the cheapest, and he's actually cooked the Nuggets this season. The Nuggets have such a bad defense, even adding in Aaron Gordon, that you just really want to attack these guys. But he's averaging 19.7 points per game, 10.3 rebounds per game, 3.3 assists per game, and 42 DK points against the Nuggets this season, playing like 40 minutes a game. So I kind of like him. And then it's pretty close between Sengun and KD and Amen. I would say all these guys kind of project pretty similar from a value standpoint for me. And I think Reed Shepherd is kind of interesting as a mid-tier guy that nobody's going to play that has been really coming on a lot as of late. And then for the Nuggets, it's really just Jokic and Jamal. Fine with both of them. I'm not really too worried about the Jamal Murray matchup against Amen. The Rockets they kind of struggle in the pick and roll, and we know that the Nuggets have some of the best two-man game, probably the best two-man game in the entire league. So I think both these guys are very firmly in play, but this is definitely a game I want to get pretty deep into. But yeah, talk to me, Houston at Denver.
Yeah, so I definitely didn't see it that way coming into the slate. I understand why you feel this way because of the rotations and how tight they're going to be and how big the minutes are going to be, especially from the Houston side. My problem is just the pricing. So I like Jabari. I like that call a lot. And the one thing I'll say is like everything besides Jokic is going to be low owned in this game. So if you go heavy Houston, I mean, you're on a decently sized island of good players because we know Houston's got a ton of good players. It's just their price tags aren't really conducive for this slate. So I'm having a difficult time saying how I'm going to play this game over like the Orlando spot we talked about. The last game, I like the expensive pieces of quite a bit. But I think the field sees it that way too. So hearing your spiel kind of gets me on it a little bit more. I don't have any hot takes here. Like from the Denver side, it's always Jokic, drop off, Jamal, big drop off to everyone else. We saw Gordon play more than expected last time out. He was also on fire. So I'm not sure if we can expect that this game. So it's really just Jokic and Jamal for me. From the Houston side, again, it's really about everything you said. It's about having interest in these guys because they're going to play more minutes than projected, and the matchup's really good. So in that sense, I get it, and I get going heavy on this game. Not sure I'll get to it, but I like the take.
Yeah, I obviously haven't built yet, but I am definitely toying with the idea of having like 2 Houston and then 1 Nugget. So it'd probably be like Jokic plus Jabari and probably KD or Armin, I think is probably the way I would want to play it. But obviously you got to see how the builds are looking once we actually get updated projections and all that stuff on the Kings. But yeah, I'm pretty into this game as a whole. That it's just the Nuggets defense has been really bad as of late, and they're obviously still one of the highest powered offenses in the league. And then Houston defense been slipping as of late, and I just really think that the minutes are going to be super high. I'm not into Gordon at this projected ownership. Just his minutes are capped. Adelman even said he was not going to play overtime if the game went into overtime because of the minute cap. So I would not expect him to be playing 30-plus minutes anytime soon. I think Christian Brown is probably okay to keep in player pools because I think that he could just get there off of minutes alone. Nothing about his matchup stands out in particular. All right, next game, Charlotte at Sacramento. Obviously, we'll touch on the Sacramento injuries, but for Charlotte, they did rule out Salon and Grant Williams. Not super big names, but they'll get Kobe White tonight. And then back-to-back for them. Minutes were held in check for LaMelo, but they are generally a team that I just really look to stay away from on back-to-backs because they're going to be managing these guys, especially in a game where they're favored by 13 points. LaMelo's averaging just 26 minutes per game on back-to-backs this season. Brandon Miller is at 27.5. So as much as I love the matchup for them, and I think that they'll have a ton of success in that offensively, I just don't really see myself getting there in a game where they're favored so heavily. I think Kahn and Bridges are probably guys that would make the main player pool because their minutes I feel like are probably going to be higher than those two guys. But yeah, I don't really love it by any means. But yeah, the Sacramento stuff, they have 8 guys available tonight, so I won't go through who's out. I think it'd be easier to go through who's in. Killian Hayes, Nick Clifford, DeMar DeRozan, Precious, and Reyno are projected to be the starting 5. I think that makes sense. They've been playing Plowden a ton, but yeah, the bench will be Daquan Plowden, Doug McDermott, and Drew Eubanks. I mean, it's a crazy roster that they're trying out tonight. But yeah, what's anything standing out for you in Charlotte? I mean, obviously a great matchup, but it's just I don't know. They're going to be running a pretty deep rotation, I would imagine.
It's so classic NBA DFS to have Charlotte, like as you said, 13-point favorites against Sacramento, but all the interest comes from the Sacramento side because they only got 8 guys and they're so cheap. So part of me is like, man, I want to like something from Charlotte because I'm likely to play a lot of Sacramento and Charlotte's going to roll here. But who's it going to be? They're so balanced. They got enough guys that can do it. Like, again, in 150 settings, I'd probably have exposure to all these guys. But in smaller field stuff, like, it's so hard to choose between these guys. And on a lot of nights, like, you know, only 1 or 2 of them is going to get there with how balanced they are, especially on the second half of a back-to-back. So tough to make Charlotte a priority here. From Sacramento, I don't know how we don't get at least some Kings exposure. Killian Hayes was having a massive year in the G League before Sacramento picked him up. Yeah, he looks like a lock for me here. They're missing like all their guards. He's going to play a ton. I'm playing him here. Reyno, he's been awesome lately. I don't love the spot. He's going to play so many minutes here. Not really worried about Drew Eubanks eating into his run. They might even play some together tonight just because of how shallow they are. DeRozan, we know, is not going to play a lot of minutes, so he's a guy I won't play. The only spend-up guy I want from Sacramento is Reyno. Nick Clifford, interesting here. Not sure exactly how I'm going to play it, but I definitely am going to have some Sacramento here. Hayes is likely the top guy and the ultimate priority, probably the best play on the slate. How do you see it?
Yeah, same. I think you're locking in Killian Hayes and your single entry stuff, probably playing a ton of him in MME as well. I don't know if anybody has this information available, but I'm looking for Patrick Baldwin Jr. because he was on the roster, but I don't see him listed now. We don't have any minutes on him. I don't think Sabre has some, but I think they might, like, there might have been a contract thing. They might need to get him signed, which would give them 9 bodies, but I don't really know what's going on there. If he's not available, I mean, I guess, don't they kind of have to play DeMar 32 to 34 minutes a night? I mean, they played Russ a ton. I don't think that they're really at risk of winning this game. I know DeMar is kind of older, but kind of have to play him. Right.
Yeah, I think they'll play him the least amount that they can, but to that point, it still might be 33, 34 minutes.
Yeah. We've seen the situation before with teams running out 8-man rotations that you do need some of these guys, but it's a little bit of a different situation here because they've been pretty thin most of the season and been playing guys like Reyno and Precious and Nick Clifford a ton of minutes already, so you're not really getting that big of a discount. So for me, Hayes locked in, and then like how I'm prioritizing it would probably be like Reyno and then Plowden and then probably everybody else. I think Nick Clifford is awful. I've seen enough from him. I just think that he's a terrible player, and I don't really care that he's going to have the opportunity. I just think that he's so bad. Even like he could play 40 minutes tonight and go for like 25 fantasy points, and I'd be happy that I faded him. Yeah, I just don't think that they're going to play McDermott or Eubanks enough. I really think that they're just going to be running out like the Hayes, Plowden, Clifford, Precious, and Reyno for close to 40 minutes tonight.
Precious,
what do you think about
7K?
Precious? Yeah, he's 7K.
Yeah.
Like he's got to play a ton, but like he's 7K. I mean, he realistically probably plays 40 minutes tonight.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not at least have interest in him there? Like, and he's shown monster upside even at this price tag a few times, like not just once. So I think his median projection is probably not amazing at 7K, but it's good enough to play knowing that he's got upside with how many minutes he's going to play. And that's it, really. I mean, like, again, nothing to do with the spot or anything else, but I think you can play Precious and Reyno together. I think you can play a bunch of Sacramento here. Like, there's a chance that they just stink and it's not a good matchup and you don't want a ton of Sacramento, but it's not going to take that much for it to not play out like that. So I'm hesitant to not play a lot of the Kings here. Hayes looks like the guy you just have to play.
Yeah, Isaiah Stevens currently in the G League, but he could get called up because it is a home game for them. I have to double check and see where their G League team is because if they're on the road, obviously it'd be kind of tough. But yeah, he could definitely open up some more minutes for sure at the guard spot. I would still be playing Killian Hayes a ton, but then I'd also probably be playing Isaiah Stevens a good bit as well because he's been priced. I think that they'll overlap some for sure. All right, yeah, I think that does it there. We'll just have to kind of wait to see how projections shake out for that game.
Yeah. The only thing I was going to say, I just looked it up. They're in Sioux Falls, so they have a game tonight in Sioux Falls. The Stockton Kings do.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll have to see if they'll probably, like, we should get word on what they're going to do with Isaiah Stevens pretty soon here. All right, last game of the slate. Minnesota at the Clippers, back-to-back for Minnesota. They played the Lakers last night, so didn't have to travel at all. Been pretty up and down on defense lately. They've just been terrible in the non-Rudy Gobert minutes this season. Not really giving up any threes, but they are giving up a little bit more rim scoring. Yeah, a lot of star power in this game. I think that we both kind of alluded to it earlier, but we like Garland a ton. I have a lot of interest in Mathurin and Kawhi Leonard, and even a little bit in Brook Lopez as well tonight. I mean, even like Derrick Jones Jr., Chris Dunn are guys that are making my main player pool. Minnesota side seems a little bit tougher to get to just because the fantasy scoring is a little bit more spread out. I don't really love the matchup for Ant or Julius Randle, but you could obviously make a case for both of them because they're good enough to kind of defeat any matchup. But I think if I'm choosing one, it would be Ant. But yeah, what do you see with this one?
I like this game way more than I should. Like how you like the Houston game, I like this game. So I'm with you. From the Minnesota side, it's Ant for me. Coming off a really bad game last night, shot 2 of 15 from the field, really struggled in LA against the Lakers. I like him to bounce back here, even in a tougher spot against the Clippers. Both these teams want to win this game. I like Ant quite a bit on a slate without a lot of spend-up options. Getting basically the same ownership or will get the same ownership as Banchero. I like both of those guys a lot. From the Clippers side, you named it. Kawhi looks great here. Darius Garland, we've mentioned a couple times on this show. He's in the same vein as DeJounte Murray for me, that neither of those guys are going to play massive minutes, but Garland is just too cheap for his role and the minutes he will play. So we know how talented he is offensively. I like some DG here. Talked about Kawhi. Derrick Jones Jr., solid filler. I like this game a lot. Going to have exposure here. Ayo Dosunmu, questionable. So like Bones Highland, 3,200 might have a role on this slate for Minnesota.
Revenge game.
Yeah, revenge spot for him. Love that. Yeah, like Julius Randle. I don't love him, but his price tag's pretty fair at 7,700. And if you're kind of playing on this slate, maybe getting a little bit weird and trying to have late roster spots, you could do worse than playing him there, especially with the value that we might have on Sacramento. Benedict Mathurin, 6,100. Yeah, a couple massive games recently. I'm in on Benny Math here too. Like, I like this game quite a bit. I might overload in at least one of my lineups on this game. I just like it a lot. I think it's competitive, and I don't usually like Clippers games, but I like this one tonight.
Yeah, I can't argue with that at all. Yeah, I think you made the case for. I literally wrote down the same thing about Ant. Like, it's a bad matchup, but coming off of a really bad game, I think there's extra motivation for him to get back on track. He's just that type of guy that really takes that stuff into account. Julius Randle is tough for me to wrap my head around because he had a 40-point game against Portland earlier last month. The ball was so bad, 54% true shooting, 22% from deep. Feels like a pretty easy X out for me. I'm not really too into Rudy, so it's kind of easy to say that Ant is really the only guy that you need to be considering on the Minnesota side for me tonight. I think Nas is starting to get cheap enough where you can consider him any night of the week, and maybe with Ayo out, that opens up the chance for more of the triple big lineup. And then I agree with you. I think Kawhi is just like the safest spend up tonight. Good price tag, 9.3K. Don't really worry about his matchup too much. He went for 41 against Jaden McDaniels just last month, so I think that he's pretty fine from a matchup perspective. The reason I'm pretty high on Garland tonight, I think that this could be a really big spot for him scoring the ball because of the way that Rudy Gobert plays defense. He's such a big drop coverage guy because they want to take away the rim scoring. Minnesota is dead last in pick and roll defense this season, and we know that Garland is a really good pick and roll scorer, especially against guys that play drop coverage. Been pretty good from a per minute standpoint with the Clippers as well. So I'm really into Garland tonight. I think that this is like his breakout game for the Clippers. You could have said that it was the last game because he did play pretty well, but I just really think it's a big spot for him. And then Mathurin, crazy minutes for him lately. He had a 22-minute rotation last game against the Knicks, and then 20 minutes straight in the game prior. So he's going to be playing a ton. I think that what I'm seeing at like the 32-minute range for him is a little bit low. I think that Saber had him at like 28, which is far too low. I think he's playing 34 plus easily. So I think that he's a really, really solid option. And I actually think Brook Lopez is okay to consider tonight at 4.7K. Just a good price tag. He's playing a ton of minutes. Upside is a little bit capped since he doesn't really provide any peripherals, but he did play 32 and 26 minutes against the Wolves last month, so the minutes should be very, very strong for him. And then agree, Dunn and Derrick Jones Jr., very strong value options tonight. Both can be playing 30-plus minutes here, and then Dunn in particular has been really good in this matchup, 28 DK points per game against the Wolves. Yeah, that does it though. It's all 6 games there. Able to get through this one fairly quickly, and worth noting that the lock does start 30 minutes later than usual tonight, 7:30 Eastern, and it's a full slate of games. Haven't really had this type of slate in a few weeks, so pretty excited about that. But yeah, any closing thoughts here?
No, just that I am seeing Patrick Baldwin Jr. projected some places. So
Yeah,
presuming he's in, he'd be hard to get away from at 3K with his eligibility and his offensive game. So Sacramento is going to be a team to watch out for sure.
yeah, absolutely. I'm still trying to find some stuff on him. I haven't seen anything lately. Like I'm just kind of looking through Twitter, and because Basketball Monster does not have him listed, but that could just be one situation. I think he was just on like a 10-day contract, so it could be one of those situations where they do re-sign him, which I agree would make him interesting because he's mid-priced.
Yeah, that's all it is.
But all right, yeah, that's going to do it here. Appreciate all you guys tuning in. If you guys would kindly smash that like button so we can continue bringing these shows to you guys every day for free. And I'll be back tomorrow with my guy Titletown. Matt is back on Friday with Ham. I hope you guys have a good night tonight, and we'll catch you later.